like resistance, human beings don't like to give things space. We're very impatient. I want it now. I want the answer now. I need the new job now. I want the relationship now. Anything that makes us uncomfortable, it's like, make it go away. And there's something so beautiful about giving things space. Space is a real part of the process. It's like, in order to go from here to there, look, even if my hands, as I say that, what's in between my hands? Space. But we want to skip over all of that, and we lose so much value and gift in, and also it expedites what you're trying to accomplish if you'll sit in that space, because everything happens in that space. Everything happens in that space. You know, you think about seeds. You know, you plant a seed, and that seed is, you don't see it. It's buried underground. It doesn't seem like anything is happening, but everything is happening where you can't see it. That's where everything is birthed. And whatever it is that we're wanting to birth in our lives gets created in that space. So to be able to give things space and time to happen, not in our time, but in the natural cycles of time, is where the movement and the flow comes from. So it's really, really important to be able to be at peace with the space. And again, just like the resistance, don't force it. If something, so one of those things that has happened to me in my life is a relationship with somebody really close to me that I wasn't ready to let go of. She's a family member who I adore, but we were not connecting at all for a couple of years. And I tried to force it. I tried to get her to do what I thought she needed to do for herself, but she wasn't ready. And as a result of that, it was affecting our relationship, because her not being ready was making it very difficult for me to have a relationship with her. And so I decided that I needed to pull back completely and not only give her space, because you don't have control over what other people are going to do. I was giving me the space because I had to let go of the expectations of the relationship and let go of my expectations of what I hoped she would figure out for herself. So I basically detached from the relationship for over a year with no intention except giving myself the space to let something else come in, because there was too much trauma and drama and head games that was causing me so much pain and anxiety, and it wasn't helping the relationship either.
Yeah.
So I gave it that space. I gave me that space. And then guess what? Like, I don't know, this happened just a few months ago, but she came around. She came around, and now we have a great relationship. Now, that wasn't my intention, because you can't manipulate that. I didn't give it space going, all right, I'm going to give it space so she's going to come around, because I don't have any control over what she does. I only have control over what I do. I felt better immediately, way before things got better between us, because as soon as I gave myself permission to detach and give this space to be whatever it was going to be, I felt lighter. And I know that that brought other things into my life because I was so, when we don't give things space, we don't give things time to develop and be created. We can't create anything new if we're still so focused on all of the other things that we're attached to and not letting go of. Giving something space is another way, I guess, of surrendering as well.
It is. It's so much. It's so much. Like everything you're saying, I'm so aligned with. It's allowing, it's presence, it's
Allowing,
grace,
yes.
it's grace and love. And I'm a person that I like my space, and people can take that the wrong way because they can feel offended and think it means something that it doesn't. And what it means is what you described about the seeds and what's going on underground. It's for me, I need time to be grounded. That's how I stay connected. That's how I process. That's how I feel whole. I need that. And so that's been misunderstood. And, it's been taken the wrong way. And it can, someone might try to control that, like you said, when really if you just give the grace and love, and space could mean 30 minutes, or it could mean a day or days. I mean, it's not a definitive thing. It just depends, on what's going on. And sometimes, going back to nature, sometimes I look outside during this time of year and I think, wow, if I hadn't lived as long as I'm living and I just looked at the trees right now, I would think that never would I see green again or colors again, or, I would just think that this is it, this is it. But things have a cycle and a season, and they need time and space.
Yeah, and this is the time of hibernation and going in and doing that reflection so things can grow again.
Yeah.
Like nature, there is a cycle, and we all know in the wintertime it's going to be like this.
Yes.
But things will come back again and will blossom and will bloom. But we have to give ourselves that grace, to the grace for space. We have to do that, and we don't, because we get impatient.
Yeah.
And it works against us. All of these things work against us. And so if we could just stop listening to the voices in our head and pay more attention to our bodies, and when our bodies, because the wisdom of our bodies will tell us when something doesn't feel right, stop doing it.
Right.
If you're getting those heart palpitations or that tension in your stomach, your body's trying to tell you something's out of balance here. Ask it, what does it need? And sometimes it needs that space.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a wonderful thing. I was thinking while you were talking about that I didn't realize until just now that it's also, when I was talking about solitude before and feeling really good being home alone and enjoying that space, I never used to. It used to feel like heavy, empty, lonely. Like space could feel like a void and a dark hole that you can fall into. Sometimes people don't want the space. That's why, do you know anybody? I'm sure you know a lot of people that, like, they've got to be busy all the time.
Yeah.
Like I know people that do more in one day than I do in a week. No kidding. Like, from one activity to another, to another, to another. Like, hi, what did you do today? Well, I did, first I went to church, and then I went and I walked 5 miles, and then I went to the hospital to visit a friend, and then I went and like 6 things in one day. And I'm like, well, I did one thing, and then I came home. I mean, we all have our own rhythms, and that's fine. But too much of anything, too much of space isn't good, and too much of no space isn't good either. We're all
Exactly.
looking for that balance somewhere.
Exactly. And that's just getting to know yourself, because I have been where I felt very alone, and I have been where, I need my space. But it's for me to understand, okay, I do want companionship. And it's also for me to understand my own needs.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it's very important I think, for us to be in tune, as we're in tune with our bodies, in tune with our feelings. And that's loving ourselves, getting to know ourselves the way we would want to get to know somebody else that we care about.
And ultimately, if we are wanting a relationship, I think there's no way of getting one that's really worthwhile if you haven't figured that out first.
So true. So true. And something I wanted to bring up also about space is holding space.
Yeah.
I often think about, just as an example, there's a gazillion examples, but let's say someone is sick and they're not conscious, and everyone is worried about them, and they're worried that they're not going to wake up, just as an example. I think that it's important that someone is holding space for them to wake up, to allow for that to happen, and I know that this is up to a power greater than us, but I still think that it's very important to hold that space, or for someone to come through a challenge. Maybe other people don't have faith in that person coming through a challenge, but somebody's holding space that they're going to make it through.
I don't know where I just read it. Yes, I agree with you 1,000%. But I just read something somewhere that was so beautiful. It was a story about a woman who lost her son to suicide, and she lost all of her faith. And as much as her friends and family were trying to help her, regain it, she just couldn't. She just couldn't. And she said to somebody who had asked her, "What can I do for you?" She said, "I don't have much faith right now, but I know you do. So if you could hold space for me and you can have faith for me, that would be," I'm getting chills as I'm saying this to you. She said, "That would be great." So it was like she still understood faith. She just wasn't there where she could reach down or up high enough to grab it, but she knew enough that she had it in the past and hoped that she could get it in the future, that she just asked her loved ones, "Hold space for me. You have faith. I can't." And I thought that was so beautiful.
It is.
And it goes to what you're saying, if, holding the space for somebody who can't, is going through some sort of healing situation, and they can't do it themselves. They need other people around them to help them do that healing. So yeah.
Yeah. That is really a beautiful story, and so true. So true. And I think of it also in terms of time, because I we we define time in the way that we define time. And so, like, today is Thursday, and let's say I'm thinking about Saturday, and I'll think, well, instead of thinking of hours or days, I'll just think, well, there's just space between here and there. It really is the same space, but if it's just space between this point and what I might want to do at that point, it's just space.
it's just space. I heard somebody once say a long time ago, there's only 2 times, now and not now. And there's nothing that you could do about the not now. So you might as well just focus on the now. It's true though. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, come back to that present time right
Yeah.
now.